prison guard transfers to the high security block, where the murderer of her son is serving his sentence. She starts keeping a close watch on him. Prison guard Eva arrives at her beloved workplace, where she is forced to act as a butler for the inmates, opening the doors of their cells. She has established friendly relationships with many of them. Eva teaches the prisoners how to use the coffee machine, resolves their conflicts over using the shower, and helps those who never mastered arithmetic in school with their homework. She also teaches the basics of meditation, accompanied by tape recordings. This is how her workday usually passes. One day, she notices a new group of prisoners being brought into the facility. Among them, one inmate named Mikkel catches her attention. Eva cross-checks his details in the database, and the information she receives casts a grim shadow on her face. Later, while reviewing footage of the newcomer's inspection, she lingers on the scenes involving Mikkel. Thoughts about him haunt her even during lunch. Her condition does not go unnoticed by her colleagues. One of them offers to cover for her during the weekend so she can rest, but Eva declines, determined to continue her duties. During work, she observes Mikkel being taken away by the guards. She follows the convoy to the high security block, where her authority ends. Troubling thoughts weigh on Eva and affect her mood. She even loses her temper and shouts during a meditation session, something entirely uncharacteristic of her. The woman approaches the prison director to discuss a transfer to the high security block. Eva admits that she concealed certain facts from her biography when she was hired, and those facts are now affecting her work performance. She explains that the problem is related to one of the prisoners, but does not want to raise the issue with the HR department to avoid complications. Eva asks to be transferred to the high security block, and the director grants her request. Soon, Eva starts her shift at the new location, where she is greeted by the head of the department, Rami. The first thing he does is warn her to remove her earrings and tie to avoid provoking dangerous inmates. After that, Eva and her partner begin delivering breakfast to the prisoners, including Mikkel, the one who intrigues her. She has to participate in restraining a violent inmate, who is subdued and stripped by force. During the prisoners' outdoor time, Eva gives them cigarettes through the bars, while keeping an eye on the enigmatic Mikkel. In the evening, when the shift ends and her colleagues leave the block, the woman returns alone. Rami finds her there and reprimands her for entering the prisoners' area alone. Eva explains that she heard noise coming from cell number 117 and decided to check if everything was okay. Rami then shows her Mikkel's file. It turns out that Mikkel is in the high security block for killing a cellmate named Simon during his previous sentence. After a fight, Mikkel stole a knife from the kitchen, broke into Simon's cell, and inflicted multiple stab wounds with the knife. Rami emphasizes that the inmates here are far from the harmless types Eva dealt with at her previous post. When he leaves, the woman reviews the case file, sobbing over the photograph of the victim. Later, while packing her belongings in her personal locker, she looks at a photograph in her wallet, a picture of her son, the same Simon who was murdered by inmate number 017. The next day, while sorting mail for the inmates, Eva seizes the opportunity when the office is empty and examines the contents of a package addressed to Mikkel. She finds a birthday card from his mother. Later in the day, while handing out cigarettes during the prisoners' outdoor time, Eva abuses her position and informs Mikkel that there are no cigarettes for him that day. This provokes the inmate into aggression, resulting in his transfer to solitary confinement. In the evening, Mikkel calls for Eva through the intercom, requesting to be escorted to the restroom, but he realizes from the refusal that it's her on duty. Eva continues to abuse her position, even withholding food from him, as she becomes increasingly consumed by her internal struggle. However, during one distribution round, Mikkel throws a pile of excrement in her face, which he was previously denied permission to dispose of properly. As punishment, the guards subject him to a forced hosing with high-pressure water. Eva operates the hose, adjusting the flow to painful levels. After this ordeal, her mood visibly improves, which her colleagues in the challenging prison environment notice. Later, Eva reviews the visitation schedule and notices that Mikkel's mother is scheduled to visit him. She approaches Rami to discuss Mikkel's behavior. Rami admits that the punishment for throwing excrement is only a week in solitary confinement, which is insufficient grounds to cancel visitations. Disappointed, Eva leaves. Observing the prisoners via the surveillance cameras during outdoor time, she notices Mikkel having a suspicious conversation with another inmate and seemingly hiding something under his clothing. Eva reports what she saw to security, and Mikkel is escorted off the yard for a search. He is stripped and his clothes are examined for contraband, but the guards find nothing, which further enrages the inmate. Ava's partner is called away to handle a disturbance in the yard, but she insists on handling the situation with Mikkel alone. She conducts a second search, checking his mouth with her fingers and asking whether he swallowed anything obtained in the yard. She demands that tests be conducted. Mikkel asks for a male officer instead, but Eva remains resolute. She threatens that if he doesn't cooperate, he'll be sent back to solitary confinement, and his mother's visit will be cancelled. Frightened, Mikkel agrees. On the day of the visitation, Eva watches as Mikkel speaks with his mother. Soon after, the prison staff receives a notice that the administration plans to conduct additional searches for weapons and drugs. Seizing the opportunity, Eva goes to the storage room under the pretext of retrieving gloves, but instead rummages through evidence materials. She takes several packets of powder and hides them, along with a knife, inside a box of cereal in Mikkel's cell. Dressed in protective suits, the staff conduct aggressive searches, subduing resistant inmates. During the search, Eva notices her colleagues and a sniffer dog stop at Mikkel's cell. When the inmate is warned about the search, he immediately reveals the stash hidden in the cereal box, shouting that it was planted. Due to his excessive resistance during the inspection, Mikkel is sprayed in the face with pepper gas. Eva seizes the moment and strikes him with her baton. The incident is captured on camera, leading to an investigation involving the prison director and a lawyer. Mikkel suffers a broken nose and a skull fracture. Despite this, Rami supports Eva, and her explanation satisfies the director and lawyer. They warn her that if the inmate files a formal complaint with the police, she could face imprisonment for abuse of power. Rami reassures Eva that Mikkel won't file any complaints. Still concerned, Eva visits the beaten inmate in the infirmary to check on him. Later, she goes to see him in solitary confinement to talk. Mikkel is visibly frightened at the sight of her, fully aware that her hostility could have serious consequences for him. However, instead of another confrontation, Eva takes him outside for a smoke break in the fresh air. She apologizes for the incident, explaining that she was scared and telling him that she plans to return to her previous position, so he won't see her again. However, Mikkel objects, saying that his lawyer had already visited him. He asks her to stay and continue letting him out for walks and bringing him cigarettes. Additionally, he requests permission to use the gym, attend meditation sessions, and participate in educational classes. Eva points out that after being caught with a weapon, it's unlikely he'll be allowed such privileges. In response, Mikkel threatens to report her, claiming that she planted the knife out of personal resentment. Under this pressure, Eva manages to negotiate Mikkel's return to a regular cell and permission for him to attend educational classes and meditation sessions. However, she is required to conduct the meditation sessions alone with him rather than in a group. During one such meditation session, Eva becomes lost in her thoughts and imagines Mikkel killing her son. But it turns out to be just a nightmare. She had dozed off in her office. Later, she receives news that an inmate from her former block has died. Eva rushes there and finds one of her former charges, whom she had effectively abandoned in her quest for revenge. Overcome with mixed feelings, she goes to the prison chapel, where she meets a priest. The guard confesses that she blames herself for the inmate's death, as she had left him to fend for himself by transferring to a different block. Eva opens up to the priest, revealing that her son Simon was also incarcerated at the prison. She shares that Simon had always been a troubled boy and was arrested for assaulting someone. She admits feeling relieved when she no longer had to deal with him. The priest inquires about their relationship now. Eva says that she no longer sees him and has lost contact, unable to bring herself to admit that Simon had been killed. During her next shift, Mikkel calls Eva on the intercom, complaining that he can't sleep because of the noise outside. Fireworks are booming loudly in celebration of a holiday. He asks her to bring him a sedative. Later, while Mikkel is playing ball in the gym, Eva informs him that her mission is over. She is returning to her old department. In response, Mikkel threatens to tell his lawyer everything that had happened. Eva proposes a deal. She will arrange a visitation with his mother outside the prison, after which they will be even. Eva submits a request for leave to facilitate Mikkel's visit with his mother and a short walk outside. She characterizes Mikkel's behavior as significantly improved, arguing that a taste of freedom will motivate further positive changes in his character. The committee approves a 6-hour release under guard supervision. Soon, Mikkel departs in a specially equipped van under the supervision of Eva and her partner for a meeting with his mother. Although Ava prefers not to intrude on their conversation, Mikkel's mother insists that the warden join them at the dining table. During the meal, Mikkel shares that he attends school and participates in yoga classes in prison. His mother asks whether he plans to continue his education after his release and expresses pride in him. However, Mikkel suddenly bursts out in anger, yelling that his mother shouldn't have invited a prison warden to sit with them. He storms off, intending to go to his room. His mother firmly orders him to sit back down, but Mikkel retaliates by smearing food across her face. Both mother and son storm off in opposite directions, leaving Ava deep in thought about the fundamental difference between her own son and Mikkel. Unlike Simon, whom she could never control, Mikkel's mother seems to exert excessive pressure on her son. After the visit home, Mikkel is taken to a park for a walk. As their time is up, he tells Eva that he wants more time outside next time, despite their prior agreement that they were even after this outing. In response, Eva confesses that she is the mother of Simon, the person Mikkel killed. Upon hearing this, Mikkel panics and flees, realizing that her presence could mean nothing good. Eva chases after him and eventually finds him at the bottom of a ravine after he has fallen. Eva places her hands on Mikkel's head and turns it while pressing down on the dry, yellowed grass. After a tense moment, she releases him, allowing him to gasp for air. When her partner arrives, Eva looks up at the grim sky, as if questioning how to go on with her life. She casts one last glance at Mikkel before he is led back to his cell, covered in dirt. Behind bars, Mikkel experiences a fit of aggression toward the guards, who leave without removing his handcuffs. In the corridor, Rami speaks with Eva about her return to the old block. Meanwhile, sitting on the prison bunk, Mikkel catches a glimpse of his deceased cellmate, a perpetual ghost haunting him with relentless guilt. The film concludes on this somber note.